Oh, oh, um, greetings, South Africa and the world. Warm welcome to our discussion today. Our main focus today, as we have shared with you, is that we are going to be talking about the economy at local government. As we all know that we are heading towards electing leaders that are now going to be the ones that needs to start to provide solutions to our local government challenges and problems, including our opportunities. So I think it is become relevant then to then be able to discuss these things that really are going to be affecting us in our communities and society, knowing that those leaders, they're the ones that needs to lead us out of our challenges, and we expect a lot from them. But then how do we then come up with realistic expectations in our view to ensure that we don't set our leaders for failure, but also we don't allow them to escape the responsibility that we are giving them. So how do we ensure that they account for the role that we are putting them into? And then at the same time, how do we ensure that we don't put more expectation on the things that probably they are not going to be able to deliver on, given our economic times, but also given the fact that the times that we are living in demands a lot. I believe that the world is in transition. So how do we then get true leaders? Because I believe that during transition, you need real leaders that are going to be able to ensure that they steer the ship towards the right direction. So today we have Tate Mahlobo, which is really not a stranger to this platform, which is the Chairman's Dialogue, Insika Economic Chairman's Dialogue that we used to have to ensure that, one, we are creating relevant content to the development of this country, but secondly is just to ensure that we bring solutions towards the challenges that we are being faced with, and we ensure that Africans are aware. As Insika Economic Movement, what is important to us is that we need to unite Africans towards ensuring that we maximize from our collective capability, but also ensure that as we then maximize from our collective capability, we then ensure that we build and we advance our interests as Africans towards the development of this country. And we believe that united, we can be able to make it. So we need, by all means, undermine what disunites us as Africans and really focus more on what unites us as Africans. So I think that becomes very critical in our engagement with experts and people that are knowledgeable in different areas of our economy, so that we are able then to get that wisdom and be able to build the economy. So I would like just to give Ubaba Umahlobo at this moment to introduce himself. Then we take it from
Thank you very much, sir, for this wonderful time once again.
there. Mm.
You know, it's always good to have these conversations, especially on the economy. So I greet everyone who's actually on the stream, and I'm excited once again just to spend some time with the one and only Prof. To really have this tough conversation. You know, when you are talking to these men such as Dr. Spear, you know it won't just be a conversation, as simple. In so many words. So yeah, it's good sir to be on this chat with you again.
Thank you. So Uba Mahlobo is one of those that we value when it comes to the issues of the economy in this country, but also he has written a number of books that seek to inform how we can then be able to develop. And many of those books, they inform what probably in most of our leaders is still a conceptual concept, which is the inclusive economy. So I think he has written a lot in that on that. And if we were to look even behind him today, you'll see that there is one of his book which is called The New Economy, and that is one of the books that I've read that for me really take a lot of concept and put it into practice, because there you can start to see things that in most instances people they conceptualize rather than just getting into details. So given the topic of today, Bob Mahlobo, which is the economy at the local government sphere, how relevant is the book, The New Economy? I know this book is a matter of a number of books, which I believe we are still going to be taking from them as we discuss or sort of get through this discussion today. But how relevant is this book into our discussion today?
Well, the book is highly relevant because because you know when I wrote the book, The New Economy,
Mm.
I was envisioning, you know, a time where you know a time where we will not have what we call Keynesian economy and uh, also a socialist type of economy and all of what we have as in right now. So we're envisioning, you know, a time where as a nation we could really start looking at what could work to ensure that everyone has got, you know, access to what you will call, you know, the relevant, you know, things in terms of driving an economy. And so I unpacked quite a lot in terms of what can we do going forward in terms of reforms in education and also reforms in terms of banking, creating alternatives, you know, alternatives in the different industries, you know. So I think a reader, when they go through it, they realize that I'm challenging mostly the mindset, you know, that we have, that we think that we're gonna wait for someone from, you know, from America or from Europe to actually change the conditions of Africa on our country. But the truth is, the resources, it's our people. If we can invest in them and ensure and that we bring out the best that is within them, but also organize them properly, you know, have some framework, you know, on how to build, we can actually achieve a lot out of that. So there is a lot out of it, and yeah, but the book is very relevant right now as we're going for elections, because everyone actually, um, that's one thing they're anticipating a change in terms of their standards of living, a change in terms of their conditions in their societies, you know, and that's one of the reasons that political parties and candidates are promising out there to say your conditions will be better, and so we can't talk politics without talking economics because it's the very reason why uh, all of this is there. It's about management of resources.
Mm. Oh, okay. Thank you for those words. And also just to take from what we have already done. One of the other questions, and you'll agree with me when we say, as South Africa, we are not in a working in silos or immune from what is happening around us, but also immune from what is happening globally. One of those is the fourth industrial revolution, and one of those is the politics globally that affects the way we do things. And we have looked at it in terms of now saying uh, our politics seem not to be independent and sovereign when we were to look at what is happening globally. But also, we know that the history of this country seem to inform a different direction, where then the majority in this country that were oppressed, they still sort of endure the same kind of suppression, if we were to look at the fact that they still does not have a sizable ownership when you look at the economy of this country. But secondly, is the fact that our leaders then will require leaders that are going to be able then now to say, how can we then be able to move from where we are, given the limitation, all the limitation that we might have, including the access to the land, including access to financial resources to be able to do all of those things, and so forth. But from your own understanding, what will be the key things that we need to take into consideration as we start to have expectation of the solution that we are still going to be discussing that can be implemented at local government? What are the other things that you believe that they are critical for us to make sure that we take those into consideration as we develop those interests and expectation from our leaders that needs to then come in and lead us at the local government election?
Look, one of the biggest mistakes we can do is to think that um, the elections are a golden ticket towards economic development, because I don't know how many times we've voted in our nation, and how many times we've had expectations raised, by different leaders campaigning, and you find that as soon as they are in the council and all that, the all those expectations, they go down, and that's why after that they will want to take out their leaders on vote of no confidence and all that. And I think the biggest mistake was not to understand the role of government in terms of just nation building and the economy. That we've given government so much power that they don't have. Rather than to say they can set an environment that is enabling for a lot of these things to function. And so what happened is that you find that countries like us, South Africa, you find that your government is your biggest employer, your biggest employer in most of the areas, and you don't have much of, you know, um, if it's not government, then it's the private sector, which is either Stellenbosch based or either, other ways. So then you get the middle group of people who there isn't thoughts around the creation of new industries from scratch, and all of that. And so, and the leaders that we've already put in power, with the hope that somehow there's going to be reforms, they step in there for next 5 years, uh, wanting to also just meet their own needs, not necessarily the needs of the community and nation building. So we maybe we should before we gone on these elections, we should have done not just voter education, but nation building education, as to say what constitutes a nation it's the people, it's the land, it's the culture, it's the values, it's just being communities. And also one of the highest, strongest values of communities is, the ability to 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 come together and look at problems that are there and begin to come up with plan in a localized manner, even without government. But then, by the time you engage any government process, you already got some sort of idea. You need government as a partner, and even if you choose a representative, it's a representative who's not gonna become a Robin Hood, but who will actually partner with what already the communities have been developing, working on. So you don't have that, in our society. What you have, you have people just doing their own things, running after their own agendas, and then now it's time for elections, and somehow whoever that is coming up is campaigning, is making all these promises that are not even in line with what the community, per se, it might be growing in a direction. So you always have these guys get put in power, but there's such a huge gap in terms of the reality of the community, because the people in the community, they are not active nation builders. They're not coming up with solutions, and they are not actually coming up with anything. They feel that we're waiting for government to kind of like, solve some problem, or we're waiting for the councillor. Hence, you hear stories of councillors' houses being burned by the people because of all the expectation that's not met. And I think there's things we must avoid. Too much expectation. We've given so much power to these guys. These guys don't have the power that we think that they have, but also the people, they need to be active nation builders. They haven't taken ownership of that fact that they are actually ones that should rebuild their own communities. And so that's what I believe that we needed to just look at, rather than to wait for the promises of the candidates that are saying we're gonna ensure that this and this and this is done. Yeah, so that's really that part.
No, 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 no. Thank you, sir. I think you are touching on critical things there, where then, as communities, we need to be in a position where we understand what we are looking for. But that then, for us to drive that common agenda and common understanding, obviously, we'll need to unite as a community, so that then we are able to collectively come up with a direction that seeks to address our challenges as that particular community. And that then needs to inform what the councillor must do for us,
Yeah.
or what the councillor must help us to do. So in this instance is then to say a councillor needs to be an enabler for the plans that the community and society is having. But
That's
in
right.
most instances, as we have said, we seem to believe that when we elect a councillor or a government, that government will have a silver bullet to all of our challenges. They will think for us. They will do exactly what is they need to do as far as our needs are concerned. But in most cases, it's not about that, because probably we have not understood what is politics, because I think that's another component into what we're talking about today, to say there is something called politics. And political parties, they play politics to be able to get votes. And once they get votes, they need then to drive their organization's agenda. Organizational agenda has nothing to do with the community. They can talk nice things about it, but at the end of the day, what they want to sustain themselves, they want to sustain their organization, and they want to then be able to sort of get more followership from the society. So how do we then trust those? Because we cannot have a government that is a player and a referee at the same time. So we have not managed to get into that space. And given the fact that also we have got politics that today, if we were to look at it, it seemed to be captured in a sense that politics are funded. And that's why government today has sort of came up with a political funding act that then seem to address that problem, where political parties must come forward and declare where they're getting their money. So in this instance, we know that still today there are political parties that did not do that. So the question is, in that instance, where then there is a funder funding the political party, and then there is society that expect that these people that they elect need to give them this bullet, silver bullet kind of solutions to address their problem. So who is then balancing the interest of these two individuals, which now is the community and also the funder? Because as the funder funds a particular organization, he has got expectation that this political party will drive my interest. And as somebody that has got economic muscle, your interest is to maximize and get more. So, and obviously then what is going to happen is that whoever is going to be a leader, if the funder has got much muscle, then is going to influence the leader, which is our councillor, to then drive solutions that will ensure that the funder benefits, not the community. So how do we then get to where then we can be able to balance these two forces in such a way that we can be able to extract this value? And I believe that what we are talking about that says we then need to have communities that are active, communities that take ownership of the development of their communities going forward, to ensure that there is no one that is going to come from outside and enforce solutions and things that really will benefit them less in the long run. It will make them dependent on foreign investors into what can really benefit them. But also, it's important then for the community to identify the niche area where then they're going to say, in here, we are not going to open this up for external investment. That's where us as community will then going to collect money amongst ourselves and invest on this initiative, because we believe that this is the core of the economy of our community, to drive what we call inclusive economic development in the future. What are your own comments on that?
Well. Look, the I like what you say when you talk about the funder and the fact that the politic is funded
Mm,
in South Africa, and most of the time the funders, they have expectations,
mm,
and that's why when I was saying that, we can't just think that now these guys, they now it's going to be a silver bullet that they are elected and all that, because the ideal setup would have been communities. They are active nation builders, they care about their community, and so they they unite, they put down a vision for their community, and they look at the needs that are there, whether it's infrastructure, how many roads, water, sanitation, irrigation, and they look at the business locally they could do if they are farming, so they will start looking at all those necessary things. And if they are, if the issues, they will look at that, so they know their needs and all that. And they look at the surrounding, if there are companies existing also that are that through King's report and corporate governance, that they have to be responsible for those communities. So when you got communities that are active, it's easier to actually, then, even when you look into a member, whether that member is an independent or whether it's one of the parties that wants to align and serve that community, to then begin to set some terms as they engage. One of the things that people don't know is that as voters, they've got the power to actually, um, you know, say some stuff to these guys that they're voting for. But what happened is that they don't know that most of the time, or either they're just plain naive. They just, you know. So that helps, especially on a local scale, because then you either have these independent candidates that are deployed by this community to represent them, in these times of elections, and they can become part of the council and make decisions, also. that will be beneficial in terms of the development of those communities. But what you have right now is you've got politics that runs from parties, and there are structures. Those structures, they are like layers and layers of them. Sometimes there's so much those structures, and within those structures that are there, you know, the person that those structures put in, they put them in because already they want to have some sort of kickbacks and benefits. That's number one. So the community does it. So they can put a corrupt person because of those kickbacks. But at the same time, you got also the funder there who also has got expectation in terms of the tenders for, and all of the other things that could happen. So now you're caught in between because once they are now in the council and all that, there is expectation from both sides. And usually, with the current situation, I think you saw so many municipalities really in the Eastern Cape. You saw that building that burned down, where you're not sure whether it was the criminal or it's an inside job to get rid of the evidence. You're not sure what's happening. So we've seen these cases because there was an expectation created. There were promises that were made, and now they're not fulfilled. But you also realize that there is no accountability structure within the same council in terms of the monies that are there. So you got a very, very difficult aspect. There are a lot of transactions you saw that have happened, even with hey, I can't say that on live. Even with our number one and the
Mm,
sun. Also,
mm,
there's lots of transactions that happen, but they can be
mm,
justified in a certain way because everybody has got an interest, and
mm.
that's what you will find. But look,
Yeah.
when you look at this thing, you realize that again, it's all because we've given so much power to politicians,
Mm,
and because of that, we think that nothing will happen without them,
mm,
and that no jobs can be created without them. We think that no businesses can be created without them, and so we wait for them to endorse. We want them to endorse something before we could come up with a lot of ideas, around our communities. I still say localizing things, decentralizing things is the way, to really go. And I love that there is an electoral act right now that's there was a judgment to actually begin to make some amendments there so that really you can actually have participation of independents even at provincial and also at national, because really if every community can be well organized, they can be able to really get the people who fit within the criterias, that they need, that they can hold to account if ever they feel there's some sort of bribery and or anything. And also, if there's a company wanting to invest in that community, they can set up ground rules to say, yes, you can come and invest here and build whatever, but 50% or 30% of either proceeds or either what, it stays in a community development trust that basically will look into the education, will look into some of the help in housing, will look into the different aspects of the infrastructure, and you find that that community can actually be beneficial, while also the investors or whoever the funders are benefiting from that. So you find that it's a win-win, and all these things are there. There are bylaws, that you can develop community development trust. You can hold the businesses that come in your community to account. You can set up those agreements properly. But the issue is that I don't know whether maybe we've never thought of that, or maybe the people that should be facilitating that, they are not at the local scale, or they are not interested in politics, or they are not interested in development of the communities. But there is so much that can be done to allow for that.
Mm. No, no, thank you, sir. I think what we are saying is very mouthful. And I think we have sort of covered a lot of challenges that are affecting the local government sphere. And we cannot sort of get into those because today, in the main, our focus is discussing solutions that probably we can then be able to implement at that sphere of government. We know there is an issue of urbanization where most people from the township and rural areas, they are moving to urban areas. And that also affects the skills available in those areas to be able to drive this kind of initiatives. But also we have got this fourth industrial revolution that demands high tech and
Mm.
also high skill individuals to then be able to derive solutions that will be inclusive in its conceptualization, so that then at the local government level, including rural and urban, rural and township areas, then you start to have people, and we know that the majority in this country, especially living in the rural areas and the and township areas, their education level and the skills level probably is not at the level where they can easily participate in the era that we are living in today. So there is a need
Mm.
then to be able to bridge that gap to ensure that we are then able to get the individual living in those rural areas, because otherwise we are going to leave those areas for exploitation for those that have got means, because they don't have the skills, they don't have. We'll find that when you want to employ a plumber, or want to employ a municipal manager, want to employ a CFO, you will need to go to the urban
Mm.
areas to get those individuals, or either high skilled that really can drive the economy that is driven by technology today. You might find that you are not going to find them in that locality. So then how do we then ensure that the interest of the locals is well taken care of if most of the operations that are happening, they are not driven by the local people? So those are the challenges that we need to grapple with and ensure that we are able to find solutions towards that. And I believe that one of the solutions to that problem is a cooperative model that then can be able to ensure that we are able to derive that. But obviously, that need to be revisited and aligned accordingly. So, what I wanted to check with you, sir, I know we have written a book which is a child to the book, The New Economy, which is called Newcastle as a City. And I believe that in that
Mm.
book, we have outlined a number of solutions that really can be relevant when we talk about the local government sphere. So,
Sure,
what are
that's right.
those solutions that probably you can share with us in this platform that we can benefit from if we were to implement it at the local government level?
Sure. Thank you for asking that question because this is actually one of the books that actually influenced me to even relocate from big cities like Cape Town, Johannesburg to be in Newcastle because I realized that there was what we call hidden municipalities and hidden treasures. So which means most people focuses on city of Ekurhuleni, they focus on Cape Town, Durban, and all those areas, but they've not understood the power in local municipalities, especially ones that you might feel there is nothing happening. But when you talk about development, I personally don't. I'm not for the development of cities to be even more and more glorious. I'm more for how do we take towns, turn them into smart cities, and also especially now I'm working in the villages where how do we take villages, the rural areas, and turn them into smart sustainable communities where the infrastructure that you find in the cities and the town it's brought into the rural areas and perhaps the township. So most of the challenge that I found was that the township perhaps there's an issue with identity because they're not sure whether they're village or they are suburban. So there's always challenges with that. But you find a clear-cut distinction when you go to rural areas because they identify themselves they are villages. So I found that the model worked very well there because There's still a sense of community, um, and there's still what you call a sense of land. So you could still do farming, and you could still get people to do things and all that without other things. So in the book there, because it's things that also we've been practicing in Newcastle and in Pietermaritzburg, in the area, what you call areas like Umshwati, you know, way on these other areas. So one of the key things is, one, we have to, solutions I put there is that number one, we have to understand that there must be an understanding of what local government is. And I think you did mention this earlier, that a lot of the time we don't understand local government, which means we don't understand the role of government. We make government the ultimate authority and the ultimate solution. And but when we start to look at the structure of government and how it is that you at the bottom you've got the communities and you've got the councillors. The councillors, then they are your members of the council. Then you have your council, and then you have your municipality, and you got the mayors and all that. So you realize that all these councillors are in the wards where the people are, and there is an IDP, an integrated development plan, that is there for each and every community. But a lot of the members of communities don't even know what is an IDP. They don't even know who's probably the councillor, or they don't even know what's their ward number. They get no idea how many people are there in their ward, how many businesses are in their ward, how many schools, how many skills, how many are educated, how many. And usually you have stats SA trying to do a census, so which means that's info that you actually, if you're going to be a nation builder, you want to know that info because it gives you some clear cut path as to how do I then get involved with local government. So you don't have to be a politician, but you can get involved in the different space. You can be one of the lobbyists or one of the people who can befriend the councillor, or befriend or whoever, or be a liaison officer for your community. So there is a way. So it's important to understand what is local government and the connection with then your province and all that. So that is so important. And the bylaws and the issue of bylaws also, it's so important because that's where people then get more involved in terms of setting values and all of those aspects. And that's just one thing. Because if we don't understand it, it's going to be hard to see some of the areas such as move to another point, which I say there must be a paradigm shift in terms of leadership and governance. So most of the leadership in our local municipalities are not qualified. I know that this is something that they've said it before. Salga once released a released a report. I mean, I think it was this early this year or last year about the the qualifications of a lot of the councillors that belongs in a council or in municipality. That most of them, you know, there were people that were available, that could be actually put into position. Most professionals and most people that are equipped, they normally don't want to get involved with local government. They want to come as professional consultants, or they want to just work in jobs. So the decision makers, you find that it's usually the people actually who will not critically make a decision, but they will make a decision based on the balances of forces, on the ground and all that. That is a challenge. We have to have a paradigm shift in terms of the leadership and the governance, so that we get more people that are value based, more people that actually have the right qualification to make decisions. It's a decision making role, and it's also about oversight. It's about managing budgets. So you can't tell me a municipality cannot keep records of what they buy, like simple things like receipts and all those other things. These are like pretty simple things. So there has to be that. So I really put it there because if you're gonna if you're going to change a municipality from being a category B, C, to become a category A, to be a smart, to be a city, you have to look at the numbers of the population. You have to look at the efficacy in terms of how it runs its governance, especially their financials, their books, and the transparency in that. And a lot of the local municipalities, they've been struggling there. We find that their audits are not proper and the efficacy is not there. And because those are accountability spaces, there must be proper accountability and there must be the right skill. So you can't expect people to do a job when they are not equipped. So that we have to then put a focus on developing the leaders, either before or either when they show a desire to serve in the local. I'm not sure how many leaders went for equipping as we are actually running now for voting, but mostly I can tell you they've been campaigning, but there hasn't been a time for equipping in terms of what's local government, what is governance. When we talk about smart governance, when you talk about all of these things, there is a lack in terms of those things. That's part. I think one of the key points I stress more in that book as one solution is that it's local government. So it means we have to now start thinking about localization of the economy. And when I talk about localization of economy, then we need to start looking at what are the local economic clusters that are there or that we can create. So in the book, I look into some of the 10 economic clusters in terms of things that can be done, group it all together in terms of you could have green economy and energy at local. Have people start thinking about it. Let's pioneer it from scratch. How can we turn waste into energy? I know that because I work with some farmers, how they turn human waste, use bamboo tree, and it's good energy and it's energy. So that you start having long-term conversation on the issues of ESCOM, and basically getting them out and find some alternative, and all that. How do you, all of those things, they're supposed to conversation that happen, not just political chanting, but talk about the creation of such. Talk about creation of a retail system, not what we have, not the malls that we have where it's so expensive even for locals to actually have some space to even, to get in there. Let's talk about welfare. Exit plan, exit strategy on welfare. We cannot be having so much of welfare cases that we have, right now. Let's talk about rethinking health, like our health, community-based health. We our people are sick, and there are solutions that we can start looking at. Let's look in terms of the entrepreneurial culture. We've got agencies such as NYDA, CEDARS, who are supposed to be looking at fostering that culture on the local space, creation of entrepreneurs in township and in rural areas. So how can they do that better and with the support? Let's talk about the finance part. Yes, they are there as grants and what, but there are other means. So these are conversations we should be then talking about, as to say, how do you create local industries? Because you can then revitalize the townships, but you can also create new industries. An example is in the agri space. What we're working on is that when you create smallholder farmers where they can use their own yard, they can put in create their own compost, put their own crop, nest, nurture them, and create their own poultry, and also look into their livestock. Already, they have met a basic thing, which is meet human basic needs of their family. Then they can also begin to enter into what you call um, agri, family agribusiness, which now they can start, be the ones that are selling you inkomo, uzothenga inkomo.
Mm.
Now they have entered into business. Now they can be assisted now to formalize that properly, and at the same time in the village, if they're all doing that, now they can create an industry out of it. And this is how now the creation of agro-village industries begins to start. Because from that injection, you could start looking at creating agro-village retail, agro-village, agri-tours. You can create your agri-parks. You can create all of that within there, within those areas. Now you start to resolve issues. You can then get your telecoms and whoever to bring towers to ensure that there's good internet. I mean, I know that here there is fiber, there is also all of these ADSL because they have been looking into that. But to create that smart, sustainable community, so there are all the issues of water. Previously there were water schemes. Water schemes again. You get the villagers, the people coming together, and they start looking into creating dams. To putting in grey water system to ensure there is water conservation, and really there is no struggle as you have. Now these are conversation, I'm saying. These are solutions. It doesn't help us to talk at the higher level and just chant and talk about land now, jobs now, all of that part. We gotta talk at a very practical level because there is practical needs and come there and begin to solve and create those things. And that's what I call the new economy. It's not the politic there in parliament and the politic of television and the screen. I'm talking about getting our hands dirty. I can go on and on, sir. So you gotta have to
Thank you,
stop me.
thank you. Yeah. So I think I'm just taking note as you are speaking because I think most of the things that you are touching on, they are very relevant. And as we were talking, I was then saying we have got terms that have been coined by politicians, and there's a number of them. One of them is what they call township economy. Is a concept that thing.
Yeah,
It does not exist anywhere. Is a concept, and it cannot be implemented up until a proper research question has been derived from it, and there's proper research done, and there are questions that are being answered towards that particular direction. Same as inclusive economy is still a concept at a very high level. No one can tell me what we mean by inclusive economy and what are the dynamics that are in there that we need to take care of. So politicians have thrown all of these names to us, and we have not questioned them critically so that they can understand that we are at a position where we know exactly what we are looking for. But there is a difference, and I believe that today, if we want to make an impact, when we want to make an impact in a township and we want to make an impact in the rural areas, these are two different areas, and that's why even the name, their names are different. It's not even rural area called township. No, it's a township. And the township has got the structural issues. It has got the land issues associated with it and other challenges. But you'll find that in rural areas, probably they don't have much of those. But you might find that in rural areas, they don't have things like infrastructure, while in the township, they will have some infrastructure and so forth and all that. And one of the critical things that today, and I was talking in other conferences, that we have got data which is becoming gold today. And data means that is information that we generate in our locality that other people, they can use it to make an informed decision. That decision can be an investment decision. It can be a decision to sort of get benefit of what is happening in our locality. So data has become the engine that drives almost everything today. So it becomes the gold of today. That's one thing. But I believe that waste is second from that, because waste, people in the near future, they will be selling waste. There will be no trucks from municipality collecting waste from communities. Waste will be sold. People will be buying waste so that they can then be able to come up with different products that they can extract from that. One of it, obviously, we have seen that people, they are generating energy from waste. And we know that today, if we were to look at the big metros in this country, they are struggling in managing their landfills. And in the near future, in 10 years' time, most of them, they'll run out of their landfill site. And for them to get the landfill issued, for them to start to have access, probably take more than 10 years to be able to get a landfill site. So the challenge that we're sitting with today is the fact that, and especially if we were to look at the township, because that is mainly the problem affecting townships, and then they don't have electricity, but also they generate a lot of waste. So why don't you then they use the same waste that they generate to be able to bring light for Soweto, for example? This is just as simple as that. We are talking about tangible and real life kind of solutions that now we're talking about, to say Soweto has a problem, they can't afford to pay ESCOM, electricity is expensive. And then why they don't use the waste that they generate to be able then to get energy from that, so that they can be able to have electricity and so forth. But it's not only electricity that you can get from waste. There's a number of things that you can get from waste. And that's why I'm saying waste is becoming something that in the near future, as citizens, will be selling waste to those that are processing waste. So what is your take? Because I think that that solution talks to probably into the township setup, while probably in the rural setup, what we are talking about agri hubs and so forth becomes very relevant there, to then say how as community, because we've got access to land, we have got access to water resources in our areas, then how do we then be able to start to benefit? And there's something today that is called a hydrogen, and in which is perceived as a clean energy. And if we were to look at countries like your China and all those, they are investing into those technologies today, to say they want to have an hydrogen empowered vehicle, for example. They want to have an hydrogen empowered for example, a farm, where in the farm they have got they are empowered by hydrogen and so forth, and all those kind of things. So how does all of this solution, how can we then be able to get to a point where we can then now say we can realize these opportunities that are sitting in these different spheres, which are of today, I think is very critical for us, which is the township and the rural areas. How, and if you look at this township, then rural areas, they develop, they come up with products, they have got a market which is in the township, because they don't have enough land to be able to plant and so forth and all that. So they can then have they plant their crops, and once they have done that, then they take this and they go and sell the township. The township, they generate a lot of waste, then they convert it to energy. They take that energy and then they sell it to the local to the rural areas. But also there is a mix, something that needs to be happening between the producer and the consumer, because today we are exploited, because there is no way in which the producer is able to link with the consumer. That's why you will find that even food that we get to produce in our small holding farmers then cannot get to reach the market, and we end up throwing it and so forth, because of the system itself, how it's structured. So while also we know that definitely there are people that are hungry, almost 17 million or more people in this country, they go to bed without food. So how do we then be able to link those two spheres, and to be able then now to drive this kind of economic development, which is inclusive in this manner, and we become market for our own produce going forward?
Look, man, the issue of township is, like I said earlier, that townships, the challenge you find with townships is that um, the identity, like you're saying, that
Mm.
it's easy to clearly say is this is rural, and because of you got one, two, three. Now, township, it appears like the infrastructure is there, but at the same time, there is a sense of not really being clear as to what are we,
Mm.
what's happening, So, for an example, um, for an example, I went to PE. When I went to PE, I noted that there's a high uh, the inability to manage just waste.
Mm.
It's very dirty, and because it's dirty, then then it's land pollution, then it's air pollution, then the air is toxic, so it could lead to other health issues, health hazard, and but what I saw with some of the councillors that were working actively, there is one of the councillors, Lance, Grootboom, he was really active in terms of cleaning up those communities, getting people to clean up, but then they will then convert those areas into a park where the children can have some sort of playing area and all of that, and that's what I saw. Although, you can't have so many parks, but that was the first step, you know. Well, where else also I saw that you could also convert these areas into areas also of create agri parks, where there's also agriculture happening there in those areas, where you can redeem that space, that land. I still say there is a lot of land in the township, and a lot of that land has been filled with waste, which is rubbish, which is not managed. And the reason you find that there is waste there, it's because there has not been clear-cut decision when it comes to whose land is that and what can be done on that land. You find that it's land, they're saying it's owned by Department of Education. You find that it's land, it's owned by some what, and it's not active for so many years, and it ends up becoming a dumping area, and you got so basically it's wasted land. So I did my run around and I saw there's so much land in the township that can be used as common space for agriculture, common space for whatever development, whether I may build some mechanical thing where people can do some stuff. A problem was no vision for the councillor that's there, no vision also for the people that are staying there. They don't have a vision. As long as they wake up, they drive out, go to work, they come back, they sit on their TV, no vision at all there in those townships. And what's been happening in the villages, what we've been doing with also our team that, I mean, we've been taking waste like food waste and all that and creating and feeding it, to because we grow worms, earthworms, where you're creating compost,
Mm.
and drain also worm tea to feed the crops. I mean, the worms they eat your waste, So if you don't teach that to your own family, that your family how they dispose their waste in terms of the three bins. Most people sitting on this live, they probably have got one dustbin, So if you cannot teach that, you gotta have more than one bin where you can move your recyclables, move your general, and move your stuff that can go back into your garden, and you create your own compost. So with your own compost, so you're solving a problem of also just waste. With your recycling, you're solving a problem of managing waste. That concept can be taught to the townships to really first manage your own waste in the yard. You know, even in terms of water, catch water right in your township. People can be taught how to catch water, rain catchers, and also how to manage your water by recycling, using it so many times before it goes anywhere. Create small gardens, create, all those things. I've seen townships, people have got yards that can be turned into gold, but they will rather have a green grass for entertainment, not even a garden, nothing at all. So my brother, this is a mindset shift that must happen to township people. There's a culture of entertainment and entitlement. That really you see it every now and then, and that's what becomes a challenge. You can't drive any development when the people are not owning up to it. Then you go into, so they're happy with going to a mall and buying stuff. They're happy with going and buying spinach that they can grow, with going and buying something they can grow. They're happy. They're working a job. And that's the part that you got a problem with. While with the rural side, the mindset is different. The mindset is different in a way that it's the agriculture has been ingrained in the blood to say, look, if you're not going to grow, if you're not going to be faithful with the five resources God has given you, soil, seed, rain, sunshine, you know, and if you're not going to wake up and actually utilize that daily, you're not going to eat. So the people, they grow their spinach, they grow their corn. Every family, they know that they have to manage their waste properly. They know all of these things. So it becomes very much easier. So you will see this. I'm telling you this. So your rural areas, they're gonna be the fastest developing areas in the next coming 5 to 10 years. They will develop more faster than township. Townships will be stagnant because of the entitlement culture and the fact that they're not sure what are they. Are they Model Cs or are they what? So there's a lazy culture, entertainment culture. While your rural areas will develop fast, you will see rural internet service. You will see a lot of direct access from people that are growing stuff going directly into some of the people that buy who are the client because they'll have an organized system of saying, like you were saying, I'm going to go to that township. I know how many households are there, and they can buy my organic food. So we've put up a box which is called the organic food box, which if you go study how many houses are in there, you can supply all of them directly. So this is a mindset shift that needs to take place. There is a huge mindset shift. I can never emphasize this. And if we're not gonna have a shift, a change in how we stop the entitlement culture, nobody owes us anything. We have to begin to start thinking. I'm happy when I see people like you, Prof, who who are critiquing some of these terms by politicians. Politicians, they come up with terms that they never explored, such as township economy, rural, what. Even though those terms might be valid, but find it they've never explored it. They've never practiced it. And it's time now, they come. So I'm saying they come into those areas and see why these areas are functioning like this, and they start having a real first-hand experience of what is working and what is not. But they do their research for master's degree purposes. They do their research for getting those heads that are four corner that I feel sometimes they close the brain, um, because because almost everybody that speaks from that position, they can't give you a point of reference of what they actually are they're speaking on. But you get someone down on the ground who will tell you. You see, like now, net prof. I'm not prof. I'm not, but I can tell you how you could manage your waste from your household, how you can manage your water, grey water system properly. I can tell you practically how you can grow your worms, create compost, take care of your crop, grow good quality crop. You know, that's not compromised. I can tell you how you can raise up your poultry, have your chickens, and be able to sell them. It's December now. Sell them to the people, and they eat good chicken, but also breed your livestock and all that, and link it with abattoirs, which will make sure that there's proper handling of it and everything. And from that, you can start building other infrastructures such as roads, create links for transportation, create toll areas. Because I'm on the ground, but somebody out there who's doing a paper for government, a white paper for government, he's not been on the ground. He doesn't understand. Agri hubs are just a concept. He doesn't even know how that thing will run. He's not even talking to the people. He can't talk the language of this is where the issues are, you know. So I think we need to put some, so we need to talk some real stuff here and
Yeah,
say,
yeah, yeah,
we
yeah,
need to
yeah.
ask politicians, real questions. They need to come and campaign and be asked real questions of, when you say radical economic, what are you saying? Tell us, unpack. Let's give them time. Let them
Mm.
unpack, and we tell them that no, 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 you don't understand what you're saying. You're talking but we don't do that to politicians. We go blind-heartedly, and then we sing these songs, and
Rallies.
then we pull all these old songs of the struggle. that thing doesn't work anymore. I mean, we need to get rid of that old struggle, politic. We don't need that anymore. We need to get our hands dirty, and these guys, they must come and learn the work, and actually, get going.
Mm,
We
mm,
can build this economy, but it's just that right now we got these people with red jackets like you, um, you know, and these heads that are talking, 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 and then I ask them, "Do you have a garden? What are you doing with your yard?" You go to their yard, they've got even artificial grass. Now you see, you can't listen to such people. That is my problem.
mm. No, no, thank you, sir. I think this is very enlightening. But I wanted just to the conversation that we are having today and share a practical scenario that Insika is involved in, that we are doing with the community, given the fact that for those that probably they're tuning in for the first time in this conversation, we are a community organization that seek to ensure that we unite Africans towards providing solutions towards their problem, challenges, and opportunities. So one of the other things that we have done in relation to what we have alluded to is that we have formed a club that seek then to collect some money. At the present moment, we are collecting amongst the executives or the leadership of the movement, and then we are putting this money in one basket. And once that money, after a certain period of time, there are people that are coming in, even amongst ourselves, that are coming in with opportunities and initiatives. And then we invest. One of the initiatives that we are looking into now is of buying a green, what they call this thing, but is this where you have got this sort of what do they call it? Is a green, what is it? But where you are able to cover where you are going to plant your crop.
Greenhouses.
Yeah, greenhouses. Yes. So we are buying a greenhouse. We are going to be buying a greenhouse for to plant cabbages, and we have done the calculations and everything, and we have noticed that we are going to be able to make money, and we are going to be putting it somewhere in KZN. That is one thing. So what we wanted to do with that program, we wanted to open it to the public also in the long run, then to say, as public, even if we are in your community, you can come within that same club, and then under the umbrella of Insika, then you can then be able to collect money locally there within this same infrastructure that we have created, and then to be able to fund your own local initiatives. That is what we want to show to the public, to say we can invest into our own initiatives. So that's what we are going to do. We are going to go further than that. One of the other things that I have passion with is buying goats and giving it to a family that is needy, that probably will benefit from it. And then there's a training in the partnership that we have with Amandla Umnoto for them to provide the training and the capacity to handle those, so that then they're able to grow. So one of the things that I'm doing in there is then every month, then we're able to buy 3 goats and then give it to the family that we think that is needy, and then from there they can then benefit from that, because they're getting trained on the different things that can come out of a goat. For example, the skin can be used for something else, the meat, the milk, and all those kind of things. So they are getting trained to that. So that is practical, is happening. But one of the challenges that we have faced is that we have partnered with a lady in KZN that is an expert, is a mechanical engineer by training, has worked with companies as big as Sasol. So in our partnership is that we wanted to get a letter from the municipality that says they will give us access to waste. Then we want to process waste to energy. And then what we have found, the resistance that we have found in there, that even talks to the fact that they even don't understand the legislature and the act that, for example, the Waste Management Act that says the taking waste to the landfill is the last resort. So you need to explore all the possible avenues to ensure that you don't take waste to the landfill as a local municipality, as much as in your mandate. But according to the Waste Management Act, to take waste and dump it in the landfill is the last resort that you need to be able to be taking. So the other things we need to look at, how can that waste can be reprocessed or recycled and all those other things. And in the municipality, we're proposing that what we wanted is just to have access to waste, and then we'll go and get investment to be able then to do that. We have got partnerships already. We have got funders that they're looking into funding the project. But for no reason, and we, in fact, on top of that, we have got a letter from the National Department of Environmental Affairs, the Environmental Fisheries and so forth. So that says, you guys, given the project that we have explained to us and the site that we have identified, you can go ahead and do this thing. So the only thing that now was left was that the municipality take that letter and then say, okay, fine, you guys are going to have access to the waste that we have, because already we are not doing anything about it. We take it to the landfill. But the resistance is taking me almost more than 3 months now to be able just to find out how can I then be able to maneuver this thing. And it has taken me to a point where I am even approaching other municipality now to be able then to have this project done there, because in this particular municipality, which is a rural municipality, by the way, that we have targeted based on those criteria, that is a rural municipality, and we believe that is going to create more jobs there. It's going to be relevant in terms of uplifting that municipality and so forth. But they seem not to be in line with what the legislature and what the government is driving and all those kind of things. These are the kind of challenges that probably some of the people within those communities that are going to face with putting leaders in those positions that really does not have what it takes to develop those local municipalities. So with these words, I want to say it is critical that those in those communities, they need them to be to have that resistance to ensure that they're able then to guard against this kind of challenges that probably we are facing as Insika, in trying to ensure that we empower our own communities. Because as we say, we are working with communities. We are developing our communities. We are not, no one is going to stop us. If probably in your area, your councillor or whoever decide not to take part or to welcome us, we will feel free to go to the area where they are going to welcome us, and we're going to work with them, provide them with whatever that we can, and then to be able to develop that economy with the skills that we have, obviously. So it's about that, and we really encourage our people in the ground to then take this ownership, so that they don't find opportunities like this have to move from their localities because of their leaders. They sit on this kind of opportunities, and they don't want to let them have access to this kind of opportunities. This municipality is going to lose out of about, I think, 30 million investment that was supposed to get in there, and it was going to be a good investment in that local municipality for the benefit of the community and so forth and all that. So those are the kind of initiative that you're talking about, practical solution. I don't know whether you've got something to add there, Mhlonishwa.
Yeah, no. It's a reality. You do get cases like that where everything is ready, but it can be resisted by two signatures in the council.
Mm.
And or because what I've learned, like as I said earlier, that we give too much power to these guys, and they can hold development of a community because it makes sense to them to make the people dependent on them, so that they constantly keep voting and voting. When it's time for election, they go convince them, they bribe them with the food parcels, My, for example, here in Newcastle, you get metal steel, Axela Metal donating maybe say 2 million worth of food parcels because there was some challenges with maybe the looting and all that.
Mm,
But imagine if that 2 million rand worth of whatever was actually put towards a creation of smallholder farmers, to support, them so that they grow their food in the long run. It would have been something, that there's been a vision for that. So so you get that it's a case of really question you have to ask yourself. Do these guys that, question for every voter, are these people that you're going to be putting up really having an interest in terms of developing your community?
mm.
Ask them these questions. I mean, well, maybe it's probably too late because Monday already. We have to go put you across. But these
Mm,
are questions to ask. Do you really have an interest in developing this local economy? What
mm,
is the plan for the economy?
mm,
And how? Give us details as to how is it gonna happen? Who are you working with? How everything. Are they organization? Are they people even from that that you're planning on? A clear-cut strategy, not a party manifesto, but an economy manifesto. Where's to say, okay, this is what's gonna happen. Here's the plan. Get these councillors to do some business plan,
mm,
so that they don't talk trillions that they don't maybe even understand. Well,
mm,
do you know a trillion? What? So all of those things, a practical plan. So that's what you get. So you see, you're talking about 30 million rand opportunity cost. That money that could have been made, but it's gonna go away. Do they even understand that? What, how much that injection, what it will do in that community, you know. So these are real issues as to say, do these people, is that person you're gonna vote interested in the development of your community? Is there some point of reference? Can you look for some references, where they have done that? Or are you gonna still put in the same people that were right in your community in the name of loyalty, and all that? Do you have streets? Are your streets proper? Because I mean, it's been how many years, but you still get areas where there are the roads are still gravel. I don't understand it. You
mm,
know, that so these are questions. You still have issues with your water and your sanitation. I mean, I don't understand that. You know, but you're still gonna go there and not question those things. There are things that needs to be questioned right now, as you are engaging with these guys. Even the fact that after you voted them, they still had room to actually get rid of them. There are still processes, that can ensure that, from your within your communities. But we have to get our people engaged to understand that as soon as they become active nation builders, they can be the one who can allow change to happen and also restrict change from happening. I'm hoping
mm.
they can resolve that issue with your project there because it is a very worthwhile project.
Mm.
If they don't resolve it, you just let us know, my brother. We are ready to host that project within Newcastle,
Okay.
in Goko. You will see we're setting up a training center that will have all the 10 economic clusters that people
Okay.
are practically trained and equipped. So one of them, it is waste. And I know there's
Mm,
been a group of people already who are looking at taking
mm,
and also manage that and turn it also into some sort of something around energy. So it is a ripe area, ripe land,
mm,
to
mm, mm.
actually pilot anything.
Okay.
So you just let us know.
No,
I'm the
definitely. No,
gatekeeper.
no, definitely.
I'm the gatekeeper here.
Okay,
I
no
do it.
problem. I'll definitely take that into consideration. I think now at least I've got another option. So I will really
Yes.
consider that, yes. One of the critical things, as probably we're about to conclude this conversation, is the fact that as the community, as an individual sitting in a particular community, the most critical thing that you need to worry about, that you need to test if you own the economy of that area, is you need to look at the things that you consume. How many of those are produced in your locality? And if none of those are produced in your locality, then you are owned. You are not. You are not. You are owned. Someone owned you or owns you. So that's a thing that we need to look into, because if most of the things that we consume are things that we get somewhere and someone is providing it, so which means that we are controlled and captured in that regard. So that is the first thing that we need to look into. But also critically to what we are talking about today is the fact that we need then to get to a point where we are able to monitor and ensure that our leaders that we put into those positions, especially within the municipality, almost any structure within that local government, are able to then be able to give us a result, so that then we can then be able to tell them as to whether now you are not really delivering from what we did put you to cover. One of the other things we have alluded to is the fact that we need to have an IDP document of that local municipality that then seek to address, to tell us the plans, the 5-year plans that says what is it that the local municipality will be doing. But the challenge with that is the fact that we know that probably some of those IDPs, they sort of they go across another leadership that is coming into place, and for example, and stuff like that. But also once that is done, then we needed to be able to then have a mechanism to communicate with the municipality, and municipality to communicate with the individuals within that local municipality in a language that they are easily to understand. But the challenge is the fact that not all of the people within that locality that will be able to appreciate the content that they get from the municipality. One of it is the fact that they use these big terms. They will tell them about the budget, expenditure, whatsoever, and the leadership, and they will talk about what is it, the disclaimers and all those kind of big terms, which probably people at the local government, they don't have capacity to complement those kind of things. So then it becomes important then for the local communities to come together and have individuals that then can then be able to appreciate the content and to be able to play that role of monitoring and evaluation. That's what we have been doing within Insika, to then say we are coming into a particular local municipality, not really to be a gatekeepers between the people and the municipality, but to ensure that the interest of the people is well translated to what the municipality is doing, but also what the municipality is doing is translated back to what the community can then be able to appreciate, and then to be able to tell the people to say, look, these things that they've said they're going to do within 5 years, given the rate in which they're doing things, is not possible, is not going to be done. If you need to do change, do it now, because it's not going to be, it's going to be a waste of time. So those are the kind of things that we need to do, but also consequence management becomes very critical at that level, to say, if we have elected people to oversee the performance of the municipality, and the municipality is not performing well, it means that the municipality is eating our tax money. Our tax money is not directed towards what it is supposed to. So those people that we have elected to oversee that process as the board of the municipality, if they are not able to perform their task, we need them to take them away of the municipality. If it includes the administration within the municipality, then consequence management must take place to those people that are not performing their job as they're supposed to immediately. We don't have to wait for or look at say this one is connected to the mayor or is connected to the political party and all those kind of things. Those kind of things are not going to help us as the community going forward. I don't see it playing any role. I don't see it adding any value into development of local community, except the local people standing up and get their hands dirty and make sure that they own the development of their communities. In your closing remarks, what can you say?
Well, in my closing remarks, I'm saying that with or without the elections, we need to take a decision that says we will rebuild our communities, which means that we need to do practical things such as one, know your community,
Mm,
know where you are, know your house number, know where it's existing, it's in terms of its ward, and know who are the relevant structures within that ward that are leading there, and understand its positioning within the municipality in terms of IDP, and obviously all these demarcation and everything. Understand, you know, and understand what's available there, what's not available, the resources available and not, and those are important things to know, very very important to know, and I really will want that at the end of this session meeting, people really be clear on those things, that they know their community, they know what's going on, they know their municipality, and they know also know the candidates, the people
mm,
that they actually they've picked up, the people that are running. I mean, there's a lot of people running now. Some of them, you don't know, they just breaking out of rank. You're not sure what is going on.
mm,
Some they've got good intentions, and but the capacity to actually be there, make the decisions, and really be an enabler, like you said, a change agent.
mm,
Those are the things you wanna look at. Those are key things. Know your community, know the candidates that are set there, but mostly, hold your local government to account. Don't be afraid of
mm,
actually holding these guys to account. Actually, we need to hold them to account. There must be accountability in terms of what is happening. Don't feel like it's a burden. Don't feel like you're putting a burden. No, no, no. We have to, hold them to account in terms of what they said after the State of the Nation, State of the City, State of the Town address, and all those budget speech. We need to hold them to account. Where are those affordable houses that you said they were going to be built? Where is that project? When is it starting? You know, when is what? Know those things.
mm,
These are very important things that way. But also we need to then get people to mobilize into local. I mean, you remember back then you had street committees, you had all these community what, your CPF that work closely with your community safety. All of these, there are all of these things. You can still have more of them, such movements that are there, that are
mm,
actually working in together to actually become nation builders. That is something. Nation building is not just to do stuff when there is looting. When there was looting here, everybody was now sending food and all of this and this, and then they disappeared. After what. Now you don't know what are they doing, what is happening in terms of ensuring that those things never. So we need to then start mobilizing, ensuring that the people are there. We are talking, and we are getting everybody to take care of the areas that are closer to where they are. Like in the book of Nehemiah, as I always love quoting these guys, that everyone rebelled in front of where they were staying. That was a clear cut strategy, that you will rebuild in front of where you are staying. Make this thing simple, localize it, make it even more simple. Where you are, look at the things that are not right and everything, be the one who take responsibility of them. If we do that, if everyone were to actually do that, you will realize that all of that effort collected together, we could have good communities, and we could have a good nation, because everyone is taking responsibility of their own community, where they are, where they are accessible, what they can reach, before they can start talking issues of Africa, and issues of the world. Just where you are, So if we can put a rule to say you are not allowed to talk international politics and African politics if in front of you there is still some debt, there are things that are not resolved. Resolve those issues first, then you qualify to engage in high level discussions. We can have some sort of structure. People will know that, hey, things are not right where I am. I'm not qualified to talk issues of national importance if I cannot resolve issues of my ward, issues of just my street. There's just issues in your street, but you're not involved. You're not resolving them, but you are saying that you want to change the world. You are talking big language. No, we can't have that anymore. Those are my last words. Let us rise and build our communities, and let's vote wisely. And vote wisely. Don't vote with your stomach and with your loyalty. Go and vote wisely for people that care about your communities. Yeah, not
Uh,
people that that bring promises, empty promises, but people that you've got a track record and you know that they care about the communities.
thank you for those words of wisdom. We really appreciate. Today I have learned that on water resource, if you have got a dam or whatever, access to the dam, you can do about three things. One, you can generate green energy from that dam. Two, you can then do agriculture on that land, and then three, you can then do what they call circular economy, which is whatever that comes out of these two, then you can recycle it or process it to something else or energy or whatever. But also on top of that, on that water base, you can then be able to, for example, in Jozini, where I come from, there's a dam there called Jozini Dam. So which means that in that dam, we can be able to plant rice on top of the dam, floating on top of the dam there. That can really feed a lot of people, because that dam is a bit big, and we've got a number of those big dams
Yeah.
in the country and all that. And as we speak today, you find that we import a lot of rice from elsewhere. So that is also a political a challenge that we are having, where then we don't have willingness within our leaders to be able to drive this kind of initiatives that we are talking about. And I've alluded to just explain the example with one municipality that are giving us challenges. And so forth. So those are the kind of things that we need to look into. We cannot afford to delay the development of this country. If we do that, then the inequality that currently exists is going to triple in this country, and we'll find ourselves back to square one, where we are going to be colonized, because those that are going to be putting resources here, they are going to put those resources with heavy debt to pay on those resources. So we don't want to get in there, and we cannot postpone the agenda for the development of this country. And it's now that we need to do it, because the risk of doing it later than today is much higher. So we need them to do it now. So with those words, I would like just to thank you, South Africa, for having us today. And we promise and we believe that you are going to vote wisely, and we are going to elect capable individuals that are critical in driving our collective agenda, especially as Africans, because we have become very disunited. That has then exposed us in a bad way, that today we don't own anything in this country. So we cannot afford to do that going forward. So with those words, I would like to thank you and say all the best to those councillors that are going to make it to lead our society, and they need to then to find it within themselves to ensure that they lead their communities in their best interest, and they ensure that really they make a mark and they become the change that after 5 years, when they look back, they will say, this is the change that I envisaged when I got into this position. So I would like to thank you, South Africa, for today. And hopefully, as we engage after this election, all of us, we are going to be doing the Peter Shalulile dance, enjoying that we have made a very good decision in electing the best candidate to serve us. I thank you. I thank you.